What is going on? You are listening to Tags Podcast, aka Talk About Gay Sex Podcast. This is episode 742. I am your host, Steve V, alongside Lincoln. How you doing, Lincoln?
Great. How are you doing?
Really good, thank you. In
Good.
studio, looking at your mug on this beautiful day. I love it. Also joining us, the lovely, talented Cody Maurice Doggett. How the hell you doing, Cody?
Hello, darling. Doing wonderful, thank you, on this beautiful day.
It's gorgeous.
Exactly. And so I wanted to get right into the discussion today because I was reading this article that did a whole new study on what people are looking for. They interviewed all kinds of single people, and it's not exactly what we would think. Swiping and looks and sex. It was actually somebody that is honest and truthful was the number one thing that people were really looking for. And I don't know why that surprised me at all, but I thought that was really a good... The article suggests that dating success today isn't about perfect profiles or better apps. It's about authenticity, values, emotional maturity is the one I like, and consistency. But do those ideas actually match how often gay men really date and have sex? And that's what we're kind of talking about today. We can just first talk about honesty. And Cody, we were just talking to Mama Tits the other day, and she was telling us about the man of her dreams that she finally met. And then she told him her stage 4 prostate cancer diagnoses, and he stayed with her. Coming off of the heels of a relationship she had. He was married, Brian, and had a polyamorous boyfriend relationship. Well, the reason the marriage ended was because her long-standing marriage, he lied to Brian. Wow. And that was the one thing that Brian could not stand. He could stand a lot of things, but not lying. So does that surprise you that stats would come out about honesty is the number one thing that people are looking for?
No one likes to be lied to. That's just ridiculous for somebody to expect that if you go into a relationship where you're being vulnerable and you're actually trying to connect with another human being, that telling them something that's untrue, that only cheapens everything. It only makes you call into account all the other things that they told you. Is that the truth? It makes you have so many doubts. And in a relationship of that nature, I think having doubts about your partner is kind of like the relationship killer, honestly.
Yeah, no doubt. I've told this story before, but when I first had my first boyfriend, I wasn't really out to my family. I never felt the need to come out with a fan kick like so many have done. So I've just never felt that. I'm just me being me. And I had a boyfriend, but I didn't really share it with my family. You know, and I didn't hide it, but I didn't share it. It was kind of in the middle. It was
but you were out, ground. Yes?
I was living a gay man's life in San Francisco, but I didn't necessarily bring that home every time I came home. So no,
but were you out to the family?
No, I wasn't. It was no one's business who I slept with. I was just me.
Right.
And I still kind of feel that way, that the emphasis of having sex with a person of the same sex, that being the only focus of being gay. There's so many other colors to the rainbow. And when him and I broke up, I couldn't go to my family and talk about it because they weren't knowledgeable about it, because I kept it from them.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that breakdown in my brain of keeping a lie going from one part of my life so I felt free, and another part of my life completely backfired. And from that point forward, I still don't lie. Whether you like what I say or not, that's fine, but I'm not lying. I won't fib. I'm a very strict non-fibber since that time in my life that happened, because it was so dramatic. I had a little bit of a nervous breakdown at the time. It was hard.
Yeah, I think a lot of us can relate to that, that trauma that you go through. But I think, we were talking, Cody, recently on another show about code switching, on how many of us do that. It's almost that idea, you put your best foot forward, or what you think a potential date might attract, or they might be attracted to you with that. And I've definitely been guilty of that. I think we were talking on the show on how we all code switch a little bit You do it maybe in your work life, particularly if you're working in certain arenas. If you're not in a gay arena, you might code switch just to fit in into that
protect
arena.
yourself.
And then you
Define code switch. What does that mean?
excuse me, code switching is the idea that you can do it with your voice. Like maybe you drop a few octave levels down to present a more butch persona.
Okay.
As opposed to, I think the skit that it's a funny gay comedian it was just a comedy skit that we were basing it off of, where the guy's telling his two roommates that are very, if you will, queenie, and butch it up a little bit because he thinks I'm this total top, and they're like, you? And he's like, yeah.
That's
and then
funny.
it turns out in the
David
end,
Henry, right?
Yes, I think it was him. And then
Yeah.
it turns out the guy comes over and he's like, these are my roommates, and they're, oh, hello, and he's like, hi, girls, is the other guy, and they're like,
funny.
okay, yeah, what were we doing? So,
Yeah, exactly.
But with stuff like that, I've done that before, but I feel like, and we all have parts of ourselves that we're not going to be completely honest with immediately. There was that other story that we did recently where the person didn't tell the guy they were dating that they
Yeah.
were HIV positive until like the second or third. And then that person got really upset and not only went on the apps, not only ghosted them
No, they
after
had
that.
sex.
They had sex. We kind of weren't sure how we felt
different.
about that. But I'm sure they used protection. We didn't really get that far.
I'm not sure. I don't remember. I have a horrible memory. So, but I think that the general consensus was both parties have a responsibility to protect themselves. So
Yeah.
I think that, yes, that person probably should have told the other person that they were HIV positive before they had sex. But I think the general consensus is a discussion should be had by both parties about protecting themselves.
Right.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Before you have sex.
And before you have sex.
I said this before I moved to New York in 1996. I remember my last year of dating in San Francisco. It was always the third date. It was like first date, everyone's having a great time, and it was so much fun. Second date, you get a little deeper, and you talk maybe about an ex or a past relationship. And then the third date would always come that it would be like, well, I have to tell you I'm HIV positive, which was negative. I'm still negative. It never really bothered me because safe sex was the only sex we were having anyway.
Yeah.
So
right.
it didn't matter, but it did matter in that level. It didn't matter. What did matter was I felt there was, because it wasn't me feeling it. The truth was back then it was a life sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back then, and I said, I'm about to move to New York and go bonkers. And if you have this in your mind of things, a bucket list of what you want to do, probably us dating and settling down in San Francisco and it's not going to happen here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that became like what am I doing? I don't even know why I'm dating because I'm leaving. It kind of superseded the
overall,
positive or
your
not.
life trajectory was heading in a
now
different
it's a
direction.
completely different story. But,
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the article does argue that trying to impress people, which is what we're talking about, like code switching, is exhausting and authenticity works better. And what do they mean by that? Like things like curating your photos, projecting masculinity, as I was saying before, hiding insecurities, and performing confidence. I agree with those. Some of the things that I've done that in past dates to kind of project a certain image that I thought that person would like, but it's not sustainable. I knew in the back of my head that it, and that's why I think now with Diego's one of the first people that I met where I could just be myself, and we were so honest about everything from our backgrounds to our insecurities to traumatic things that happened to us. I think we shared early on those things, and a couple of and then like financials. I mean, those kind of things would
that's
come
a
out.
different chunk.
Well,
though.
I don't know that we went into like bank accounts, but I mean, I think we were both like, oh, hey, here's where we're at, but not in a way that said, because I've heard Queens before, it's like, I need to see your credit score or your FICO score and all this stuff. And
Well,
it's
that's
like,
just stupid.
That's stupid.
My question to you is, though, what was the difference between this code switching thing that you had in your mind and where you are now with Diego on a date? Because I didn't have that. I wasn't pretending to be something I'm not. I don't put on a masculine face it's just who I am. And I will tell you, when people start to fag out, in my opinion, that's when I think they're not being real. That's when I think, like, why are you putting on this weird facade of language or this weird catchphrases, or that sound that
right.
Oh my God, I'm out. Bye-bye. I don't.
I've done it before.
I don't know what it means. I don't know why
he
it
checked out on you.
I know,
and
right?
I go, well, we were just having a conversation, and all of a sudden a golf ball just got hit.
I mean, it has to be in the appropriate setting.
Well,
right.
But
again, I'm not in that universe, so I guess I don't really know what it means. Like, is it mean like, oh well, or
it's just
or exclamation point, or I just don't understand what it feels like. Like what I'm doing it right now. When someone says like 17 times in a sentence, shut up and get your facts straight and say your sentence. You don't have to say like 15 times, which I realize if you rewind, I think I just said like 15 times. So it gets to all of us.
Right.
But if you're being real, why would you have all those isms anyway?
Affectations,
I just don't like
perhaps.
living in an affectation world, but I always put my best foot forward.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not walking out there in the world with a wrinkled shirt and not being responsible for what comes out of my mouth.
Yeah, I think to answer your question is just to really, code switching can be to project a certain image that you think the person sitting across from you will find attractive.
I don't think that's I think that is like a facet of it, but also I think that the more authentic part to it is presenting yourself in a way that is safe, that is necessarily not aligned with who you are as a person. I think that a lot of code switching comes from having to protect yourself. Like if you are a black person living in a white world and you don't want to seem like you are predatory or you are scary to white people, then you actually put on an affectation to where you sound a little bit more palatable to those people. So yes,
well, I think there's two different ways. It's both, though. It's also we use
I'm not
it.
saying you're wrong, but I'm saying there's a different facet to it as well. There's different levels to it.
Yeah.
Like if you're being completely fake, if you're putting on a fake persona, I don't agree with that. But I think that there are ways for you to do it authentically. Like I feel like I code switch a lot. I do it here. I can get very feminine. I could be very masculine. And I think all of that is authentic to me. And I think it's okay to do it just that way.
Well, here's a good one, a good way that it talks about curating your photos. And, some people, if you just looked at their photos, and I'm not talking about like on the apps, but say the gram, for example, if you looked at some people, it would be like, wow, they project one certain image. And then what if then you really, in some minds, that you might have to live up to whatever this certain image is portraying, right?
I need an example. What do you mean by that?
I mean, if every picture of yourself is like muscled out in the gym, on a beach, half naked, showing off thirst trap photos, that might
That's
be
probably the world that you're living in, though.
It might be, but I would think that would be hard to live up to whoever. Do you know what I mean? Especially with you can't hear someone's voice, and that's all you see. I feel like that is. Well, I mean, that's what it's saying. Curating their photos to have a certain way that you portray yourself. I think that you're not saying like if you look at someone who's like we all look. Let's say you're going to go on a date and you're like, oh, let me see if they're on Instagram, and so I can get a better idea of their world.
Yeah.
And if all you're seeing is one type of look, kind of image, and you haven't talked to them yet, so you haven't even heard, you met them on the apps, you might think of them as a certain way that a person might feel the need to put on a certain persona.
I think this is more of an editorial about how the generations have changed and our times have changed so much, because back in the day, you only had what you went out in. You didn't have a modeling portfolio to go home and do research on to see if you wanted to hook up with them. There was no Instagram. There were no photos. It was who you saw and what they looked like in front of you and what they smelled like in front of you.
Yeah.
And if you didn't get their phone number and you never saw them again, you would never, ever see them again. But now you can look them up and do a scrub of their Facebook, their Instagram. And you're right. That's only a small
Snippet,
vision of them.
yeah.
So why wouldn't we be craving honesty in today's
Yeah.
dating world? Because so much of the structure of dating and meeting new people is based on a photoshopped image, or not
Right.
even Photoshop, just what's put up there.
Yeah. Were you going to say
Interesting.
something?
I just am confused as to what. Like, okay, I'm naked on my Instagram a lot. Does that mean that I'm presenting a false face? I really have muscles.
No, it doesn't. Well, I think you're getting. No, it doesn't mean anything. It's just for people that it could project a certain image to those.
That I like to be naked. I like to be naked.
That you like to be
too.
naked.
Right.
But I mean, certain types of pictures, thirst trap pictures, if that's all you saw.
Oh, maybe
and-
like.
Which
if-
is kind of your Instagram.
That's why I'm feeling
But you're
very
also-
personal
no.
attacked on it.
Yeah, but you're
But
also.
why are you feeling attacked? If
I
that's
know.
who
All
you
these
are?
things I do, and I
Well,
feel
then
like
that's who you are.
I think I code switch a lot, but again, it's for protective. I don't know if I need.
But
to be
you're also a
protective.
performer, a singer, and doing a lot of stuff
and I feel
for.
like I have to actually navigate these. I have a bunch of different type groups of people that I hang out with, and I feel like I have to. It helps me navigate that. And certain people bring out different things inside me. I feel like I'm not being inauthentic when I go to these places and I code switch. I feel like all of that, like I can be a little bit.
You're just being
femme.
there in a different environment.
Exactly. I
Okay,
can be a
but then
little
what
bit more
about your
masculine.
dating?
So
So
I'm
just focus
dating.
now on not just the people in your world, but like actually your dates or
Like, what is your
or even or
imagery?
sex hookups.
Yeah, I want to push their face in the pillow and pound them out. So that's what I like to project.
Oh, then that's good.
I don't know if that's getting you your dream boyfriend.
Oh,
if you're leading with that,
I'm not looking for a dream boyfriend.
then
right
what's
this
the point
second.
of dating?
Well,
Because you're hooking up. That's not
yeah,
dating.
and I definitely want to go out on dates and meet new people and explore more. I'm not necessarily looking for a dream
You
boyfriend.
could be
right
looking
this
for
moment.
friends with benefits. You could.
Yeah,
be,
that's not dating though.
You don't think so? I think it is.
Oh, okay.
You have gone on.
I think
like,
that's just meeting a bunch of people. I don't know if it's dating to date to find a boyfriend
Well,
is dating
there's
to meet.
different ways to date. I feel.
Oh, that's a
Correct.
good question
That's
for you. I
right.
know we're putting you on the spot
good
on this one, but
Yeah.
you're like the single one right now dating.
I am.
Yep, it's all
Um,
on you.
If any of these people that you've actually gone on what you're calling dates, like you went to dinner, and you're not really in that mindset.
I think the last date I went on was the summer, so it's been a minute.
Oh, okay.
maybe
I
not.
thought I've heard you say, "Oh, I'm meeting up."
So that's
with-
different than a
Someone's
hookup.
cooking.
Yeah,
Did
it's
someone,
different than a hookup. I just
Someone
I go
was
to the
cooking
house
you
and-
dinner the other night. I thought you were telling us.
Okay, I don't remember.
Oh my
It
God.
must not have been that good.
You know what though? I think I have a story that might be exactly what Cody's thinking here.
I hope we don't
is
listen to this.
the first time I went on Tinder,
Yeah.
I met someone, and we decided to go on a date. So I dressed up to go on a date.
Right.
And we were in the middle of the date, and I was like, this is my first Tinder date. And he went, we didn't meet on Tinder. We met on Scruff. And I went, we did? And he's like, yeah. And I said, then why are we eating dinner? Why aren't we having sex? He's like, I don't know. I said, okay, let's go have sex. Like, it wasn't
Love
even a
it.
date to begin with.
Yeah.
But to me, there are two different things of like, even though they do intertwine, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. You could go on a great
Yeah.
hookup, meet for a drink, and be like, I don't want to have sex yet. Like,
Yeah.
that's the other thing. I think there's stages when you're meeting someone that if you're pounding them with their face in the pillow 20 minutes after you met them, sure, you might have a life together for the rest of your life. But to me, in my experience, that's going to fizzle out. That has more of a potential of fizzling out quicker
Okay.
than going, hey, let's slow down because I see some more meaning here. I want to get to know you more before we do that. I want to actually have intimacy and not just sex. I want to have the combination. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that to me is dating.
There's also company too. I mean, you could go on dates where you just want to meet somebody other than a platonic friend. You don't necessarily want to have sex, but you just want to spend time with somebody nice.
Yeah.
Right? And that could be another thing too where I'm not ready for I think my sister says this. She's going to be like, again with my sister. But she'll go, she's just
Love you.
looking for like a nice evening out. And if there was a click in there, let's go to a show next time if we have similar interests. Let's do something else. I mean, if it does go further, yeah, she wants something a little bit more, but she's also just kind of looking for companionship sometimes. And when her friends, and it could have a little, and maybe there's some chemistry. And
That's
so,
what I'm looking for. But you know what? It just came to me. I'm not going to rule out having a dream boyfriend. I think that
Right.
if I go on these dates and I find somebody that I'm really interested in, then of course, maybe I can see, and I'm a Cancer. I'm going to always dream about a dream boyfriend, but that's not my main focus right now. That guy that was supposed to make me dinner, it was
Okay.
during the blizzard and it never happened. He also said
Okay.
to me that
I'm
he
not crazy.
You're not crazy. He would like to actually go to dinner with me beforehand in a public space before he cooks me dinner. So yeah, we're going to see how that
That
goes.
makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. We did
Okay.
it.
Yeah, just a little bit more. I mean, the article.
Pause and get the wine.
What's that? Yes. The article also talks about what gives us kind of tips too on if we are looking, if the study does says we're looking for people to be honest, we need to stop trying to create the perfect dating image. We need to be authentic. We need to look for shared values. We need to pay attention to emotional maturity and watch whether someone's actions match their words. And I do think those are key things. Emotional maturity, I think, is a big one for, and it doesn't matter what age they are. I think
Yeah.
that is something that, and are you both willing to kind of work on that level? What do you think about emotional maturity?
I think it's important to know yourself, and because I think that there's no one out there that's 100% like perfect as far as emotional maturity is. There's always going to be blind spots
Yeah.
because the more you deal with a certain type of emotional maturity, then that you're going to be more practiced at being emotionally mature in that area. So I think that as long as we're all aware of our shortcomings and where we need to actually work on ourselves a little bit more, I think that's fine. I think that there's a certain level of emotional maturity that I kind of expect, and that they're my boundaries as far as what I will accept and what I will not accept. So that's for me to determine, and not the other person to live up to some a boundary that I have. And if I can't deal with them in that respect, then we should probably go our separate ways.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that one. I mean, the article also does this really good job of sharing that shared values are what matter more than attraction for the long term. So if, gay dating often starts with physical attraction, sexual chemistry, immediate desire. But shared values, I think, are a key for me. Just earlier, I was telling you Diego had off today. It's finally sunny weather outside, and we took a long walk to the piers, and it was so Diego, and it just warmed my heart, and I thought, yep, that's my husband. We were walking by one of the apartment buildings, and this woman is struggling to get her baby's stroller up with the baby in there, and he runs up and says, "Can I help you with that?" And it was just instinctual from him. And she's like, "Oh, sure." And he helped her get the baby was like, "What's happening here?" Looking all directions.
Who are you?
And it's so quintessential Diego. It's like gentleman. Those are like values. I mean, he's so polite and kind, and kindness is so important to me. Oh boy, have I dated people in the past I remember going on a date with somebody that had road rage, and I was like, oh, hell no. and just all this kind of, shared values, and you don't learn about that until you stay in it, not go somebody, try and go on a second date. But what about shared values? What about Peter? Do you agree with, or
Peter's the nicest person in the world.
I didn't mean that, but
there's
he is really the
super
nicest.
nice.
That is everybody
Yeah.
loves Peter. Peter is the most considerate person in
Yeah.
the world. Peter will give a gift. He doesn't need a gift.
Yeah.
He's just that kind of person.
He
And
really
I've
is.
dated the full gamut of people that have always been kind. I've had some brilliant boyfriends in the past, but when you come together with the right energy at the right time and you're both living life at the same place, sure, you could call those values, but it's also just timing and your interests in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's exactly.
Yeah,
It's
you can't really
important.
put your finger on it, I don't think, all the time. It's like He's my best friend. There's no one else
Yeah.
I'd rather spend time with. And not reducing, or trying to elevate that up to some sexual 24/7 knockout, drag out thing.
Right.
It's like apples and oranges, or that's such a
Yeah.
cliche
No, I
thing to
agree.
say, but they're just different
works.
things.
It's like long-term goals. We've talked about it on the show. We were talking with Jeremy recently that relationships are work, and you have to really
for
work
sure.
on them. That being said, yeah, Diego's and mine's long-term are shared values, but I saw this thing, MMX. They've been on our show, Male Massage Exchange here. We're doing an intimacy workshop on Saturday evening that's all about touch and finding new ways with your
that's
partner to touch.
Where are you doing that?
It's on, I think it's 13th or 14th Street. They've got a studio there. And MMX, shout out to them, Male Massage Exchange, MMX.com. They've been on the show before. They often have a placeholder at Fire Island, and the infamous jockstrap party. They'll have like a masseur in the jockstrap dark room, and it's provided for free. And then they do a full moon party that's naked every summer. That's a lot of fun. But then they do
Fire
these
Island?
in Fire Island.
Let's go.
But then they do these classes, and I just looked it up, and I got an email, and I didn't think Diego would say yes at all because you can't take your clothes off in the store. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And so
That's cool.
yeah, I think it'll be real good. So we're also finding time for, trying new ways with intimacy too, and bringing that hopefully new hot sexual chemistry back into, or not back into it, but in a different facet.
Yeah. There's layers.
There's layers. Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. Were you going to say something, Eddie?
For
yeah.
I got a DM about MMX, I think.
Oh, okay.
Not from them, but from a friend.
Yeah, no, they have a really cool thing too where you can learn how to massage, and then you can put your profile up on their website, and you can actually do massage exchanges with other
Yeah.
people in there.
That's what this
And
is.
yeah, that's them.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Oh, it's cool.
Awesome.
Okay, you were just looking for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
mean,
like, is this the same thing that this guy sent to me? Because he wants me to go with him.
right, exactly. So, I mean, if we were just to kind of conclude on all this, that if we're saying that honesty is, we're seeing that, I think that's a glimmer of hope that if that's the general consensus that we're all looking for in the end, honesty, does that give you hope, Cody?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty honest, so especially when it comes to like intimate relationships,
Yeah.
somebody that you are being vulnerable with. I think that's the most important thing. You can't be dishonest and vulnerable at the same time. They just don't mix.
I
So-
just don't have room for dishonesty
Yeah.
anywhere in my life. It doesn't matter about dating or family. Family? Could you
Yeah.
imagine family that's dishonest? That I don't need that static in my life. It's too much chaos.
Yeah,
You're not,
100%.
and we have enough dishonesty in our world right now. It's such a delusion of what our feeds are, what, who knows what's real news or
AI.
what's going on. So how could your direct village of support system needs to stay in truth.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're in chaos all the time. And some people love being in chaos though, so kudos to
we
them.
can't
Not
help
my-
them
not
right
my
now.
jam.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can't
not my
help
jam.
them, but yeah.
I'd rather be alone.
Let's continue this conversation over on our Tags Patreon community. Go to patreon.com/Tags Podcast. You're listening to Tags Podcast, and tonight we're talking about dating, sex, attraction, and how complicated connection can really be. Because attention is easy to find, desire is everywhere, but real connection, the kind where someone truly sees you, well, that's different. That's what Connect and Confidence is all about, my new app. It's a space designed to help you build deeper relationships with others by strengthening the relationship you have with yourself first. Through guided audio experiences and reflections, Connect and Confidence helps you align with what you truly want in love, in dating, and in your life. Because when you're grounded in who you are, the right connection starts to show up. You can explore it now at studio.com/Steve V/connect. That's studio.com/Steve V/connect. Well, let's move on because there was a really good article that came out, LGBT Nation, Q Nation, an entire generation of AIDS survivors is now struggling with a hidden epidemic. And Tez Anderson is at the forefront of this article, who didn't understand why he was experiencing extreme stress, isolation, nightmares until he realized he has AIDS survivor syndrome. Ted Anderson decided to get tested for HIV when he moved to San Francisco in 1986, and he was only 25 at the time and began dating his new boyfriend. When the results came back positive 2 weeks later, the doctor told Anderson he had 18 to 24 months to live, and it was 2 days after his 26th birthday. When he was devastated, he began planning his death, but decades later, he remained relatively healthy while watching many friends, acquaintances die with HIV-related illnesses. And as he's approached age 50, he realized, oh my God, I'm going to be an old man with AIDS. What am I going to do? I have not put any money in my 401k or savings or retirement. Dead people don't need retirement funds. He says, I didn't make any plans for being old. I was making plans to die young. Well, now he is reliving, like, embracing life, and so he's no longer in that. But now he's much older, and he wants people to know that it's an actual AIDS survivor syndrome, ASS. It was coined the term in 2013, not that long ago, and they are doing various events. They hold a town hall at various LGBTQ centers so that other long-term HIV survivors can share their experiences. And I think this is a really good thing. He, at the time when they did the first ball, they're calling it, he expected 40 people would show up, and over 250 attended. And they all talk about their feelings and how important this is. And I think this is really good. I mean, we talk a lot, Lincoln, about growing up in that period, and we were not as young in the 80s is when it was really happening, but we still felt the remnants of what it was to get tested and potentially getting HIV and AIDS. And I've heard others talk about they didn't expect to live that long. And so what do you think about actually giving an ASS, AIDS survivor syndrome?
Can I pause you for 2
Yeah.
seconds? Why ASS though? I like is that really?
yeah,
they could pick
good-
something else. Like I had to get that out
There's
there.
irony to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's irony in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess so.
I know. Why do we have to put?
I don't.
Gosh.
Well, to me, there's equal weight in both of my hands with what I'm thinking. One is that people's experience with HIV/AIDS is very real,
Yeah.
and I never want to diminish that, ever.
Right.
There's also an entire in the program Alcoholics Anonymous. There's so many issues that we could focus on that people are dealing with that are parallel in a lot of ways to AIDS in modern times. Cancer survivors, people dealing with addiction, people dealing with death, there's so many things that we're dealing with. And for me, when it's not my current doctor, so I had to be in my 40s. Mm-hmm. My primary care physician down on 14th Street said, Stephen, with the way we've progressed in HIV and treating the virus, even if you became positive tomorrow, you're probably going to die of something else. Because the medications are so good now. Like, sure, you might have a gallbladder problem.
Oh, I see
and
what
it
you're
might
saying.
be
Yeah, right.
brought on earlier because
Yeah.
you do have this virus.
Yeah.
But people aren't dying of HIV/AIDS like they used to.
Right.
You're gonna now at 56, if I became positive tomorrow, I would probably pass because of something else, because the medication is so good that it would keep me going long enough to have a heart attack.
Well, and that's what
which
he's
is
talking
horrible,
about
but
in
it's
this.
true. You know what I mean?
That's what he's talking about. He didn't expect to live this long.
Yeah.
And now he is.
So I don't know how I can focus on that in this day and age. I remember when I moved back to San Francisco for a short period of time, and I did a show called The Ritz at Josie's Juice Joint in the Castro, and they did if anyone's familiar
that a
with
movie?
It's also a movie
Yeah.
with Rita Moreno. But
Yes. Oh my God.
it was based on Bette Midler when
it's
she used to
campy
perform
and-
in the baths.
Yes.
And I'll never forget that. And it's funny. on April 1st of this year is going to be my 30-year anniversary of moving to New York. I just realized that recently. I moved here in 96 on April 1st. And then I was here for 3 months, and then I ran home, did the Ritz.
Yeah.
And then my actual move date to New York was Labor Day. And the way we did the Ritz, it was based in a steam room, in a bathhouse, and they did it in interactive theater. So it was we walked through the entire audience, and they had 5 guys that they hired to understudy the leads, and they walked around like they were cruising the bathhouse throughout the entire show. And I remember being in the dressing room and there being guys that were understudying that were like, I cashed out all my retirement. I've been positive. I'm probably going to be gone in the next couple of years. By the end of the run, their medications were clicking in a different way that they were freaking out. They were like, I cashed out and now I'm going to live?
Yeah.
What the fuck am I doing? So if that can happen in a 3-month show, look at how much progress and everything that we've made through since then. So have your feelings, deal with what we're dealing with, but in a very real way. There is prostate cancer things we have to deal with. There's so many other ways, our cholesterol, all those things that have kind of come to the surface now that we're not dying at the rate we were during the crisis.
Yeah, I mean, I think just really quickly, I think a lot of it has to do with stigma for this particular disease that has endured that, if somebody told you back in the day that they had prostate cancer or something like that, or cancer, you got empathy immediately. But if you said, I got HIV up until not that long ago, there was such stigmata towards that. And that's what I think a lot of this traumatized.
When you say not that long ago, what's a date? Because we have to remember we're in 2026,
right?
Is it? I think it's also where you live. We're in a New York City bubble.
I think that there is still stigma. I think there is out there. We've had people write in and say that it's still out there. That they go on Grindr and they say that they're HIV positive and then they get blocked. And so I think it is still out there. I don't think, like you just said, the medicines are so good now that I don't think it's those people that are going to ASS. I think it's the people that got their diagnosis back in the 80s.
Yeah, and that's what this guy's story is.
Exactly.
So that's where we started.
Can you imagine planning your own funeral and watching people die around you and then have to come out of that and actually live? It must be like such a guilt and a weight on this person. So I do think that this is very, will be helpful and it's necessary for this certain group of people.
Yeah, and good. Thank you for pointing that out. I think it is that certain group in the 80s that didn't have a lot of anything really. There was no hope. There was no nothing. There was no community programs. They were stigmatized, and for that particular group, led by this man,
they got ass now. They got ass now.
Yeah, they got ass.
I do think we all had a taste of that during the pandemic. I think we all had a taste of like, oh no, you didn't wear a mask or you didn't get vaccinated, and then my mother died, my grandmother died.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The difference is HIV/AIDS was so focused on drug users and
the gay
community, and people piggybacked their own prejudice against those communities with a virus. That's what's so sad about it.
Yeah.
So I could see why there's a support group for it.
Yeah.
I mean,
speaking of bathhouses, I thought this was fun. Where there's them put out a whole guide to bathhouse etiquette for navigating your first trip. And what I thought was interesting about this article was that they talk about back in the day, there was at one point in this, the history of them in the 20s and 30s, the first actual gay bathhouses emerged, but they weren't kind of what we thought of them. It wasn't really till like the 50s and then the 70s, of course, the sexual revolution, where they became weird. And at one point, there was over 200 just in the States of actual gay bathhouses. And of course, back to the AIDS epidemic, that got reduced. Now there's only 20 some odd bathhouses here, in the United States.
Which, by the way, I think that there were bathhouses in Roman times. I think that it dates. way back beyond
there
the
was,
20s.
Oh, yeah, you can go back, but in terms of where you could cite gay men that would go to them to kind of look at other men. I mean, but perhaps 2024 actually listed, 34 active gay bathhouses in 20 states. By contrast to the 70s, there were 200 of them in operation. And then it goes on to talk about, etiquette, that if bathhouses, what you should do, which I thought is interesting. A lot of us really know. There was a separate article, and then we'll discuss, where a gay bathhouse owner spilled the tea on what it's really like to run one of these bathhouses, which I thought was really interesting. And it's not as glamorous as you would think. Glenn McNamara owns Sauna X of 357 in Sydney. And he said it's a very essential part of the queer community. He told an article, people come to scratch an itch. They come because they're horny or they want to have sex in a place that isn't someone else's home. They don't want to risk doing something in public. And he said for his daily experiences, he's too busy cleaning up, and you can imagine that cleaning up process. Actually, and making sure they're up to code cleaning. He's stocking things. He said it's not glamorous at all, but he really feels that, it's a duty that he wants to keep these
You said
in
duty.
place. Yeah, exactly. What are your thoughts on gay bathhouses? I mean, we've lost a lot of them. Do you miss them? Do you like them?
I like them. I think it's a great experience. I think that, you know what? I don't miss because I never experienced them, but I want to bring back like when there were live performances in the bathhouse.
That's the Ritz. That's the play I was
Ritz.
talking about.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what it's based on.
And also based on, like you said,
The Continental Baths with
Bette
Terrence
Midler.
McNally and Bette Midler. He used to go to
Barry
that
Manilow.
bathhouse, and Barry Manilow used to
I think that
sing
would be
at them.
fabulous. I think that maybe we should, or I should try and do like a night and have like a whole series going. I think that would be fabulous.
I think we have a couple here that you could maybe pitch the idea for a
no.
party.
Well, Peter and I go to bathhouses a lot, and they're not gay bathhouses; they're open bathhouses. There's the Flatiron Bathhouse here, and there's also Outer Ship, and they're so healthy for you, not to
Yeah.
have sex, but just to go and do the
Yeah.
cold plunge and do the steam
Yes.
rooms.
Yeah.
and
I've gone to the
chat.
Russian ones.
And what I love the Russian ones, is that we go with a friend or two friends, and we just walk around and chat and sit in different baths and talk, and
It's
it's
community.
like it's so much better than a bar.
Yeah.
It's community.
Even though there is a cafe and you can have a drink and you can eat something, but it's kind of like just doing something with someone that's different, especially a group of friends.
I
It's
go with
fun.
my Russian friends sometimes, and we go to the Russian, and I'm always like, because it's all Russians and me, and although people are getting into, and I'm always like, I'm always looking around at different things, and they'll have like cow feet soup. And I'm not eating that. I tell him, but he has this trick that's kind of fun, that you go into all the hot steam rooms, and the saunas get really, really, and then go have a big chug of big beer, and you'll feel so lightheaded, and it's like a really good. I mean, not recommended to be doing this, but
you want to throw up.
I
maybe.
know, but actually, I tried it with him once, and it was a lot of fun. So
Yeah? Okay.
How about you?
I
You
think-
want to perform in one?
Yeah, I've been
I
to
love it.
those bathhouses before that
Yeah.
Been to
Lincoln was
Flatiron?
describing. Yeah, I don't know if I'm that specific one, but I've definitely been to those kinds of.
Yeah, they're fun. They're
They're-
good for you.
they're
The cold
great.
plunge to me is everything. I by the time I leave, I spend almost 2 minutes in the cold, and it just takes away all the inflammation, all the fitness stuff that is stuck in my neck and in my joints is just gone. I love
Okay.
it.
Well, I need a cold plunge then, because my joints are jointing right now.
Yeah, Lyft, and this is putting your money where your mouth is, and it's not people, it's a brand, a company. Lyft, the ride service, is
Okay.
responding to the Kansas license law with 50% off for trans riders, and all you have to do is put trans joy into the promo code, and you'll get 50% off. Do we
Girl.
like this?
I like it. And thank you, Lyft, for this. But I wonder how many people that voted against TransJoy are putting TransJoy into the Lyft
Oh, taking
Just to
advantage
get
of
a
it.
discount.
just to get a discount. That's what really.
I think I've heard
the first thing
companies.
that comes to
I've
my
heard
mind.
companies address this issue, and they're like, you know what? If
Just
somebody
let 'em
really
have it.
feels like they need that thing and you like karma kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Who knows how long they're doing it, but I think the intention is right. And, companies have to make big decisions sometimes.
Yeah.
And I don't know, make me turn on my Lyft a little bit more.
I use Lyft
Not
all
to
the
use
time.
that,
I only use Lyft. So
I use the other one, but I might start with the other one.
I
What do you
use taxis because I'm from New York and I don't
Oh,
believe in Uber.
okay. You're from California.
30 years here, honey. I got my stamp. Don't worry.
Love it. Oh my God, could do this all night, but we all have stuff to do. We got work to do. And you can always follow my co-host. You can follow Lincoln at his Protein Bakery. It's here in the city on 19th Street, closer to 7th Avenue.
And always online.
And always online.
Jump on, grab a subscription, have a cookie. Everyone deserves it.
Absolutely. Follow him on Instagram at Protein Bakery. Follow his personal account at Mad Lincoln. Follow Cody on the gram and Blue Sky at Mr. Maurice. Are you using Blue Sky these days much?
I haven't been on in a long time. I need to research on Blue Sky, don't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody said you need an OnlyFans, one of our listeners.
Who said that?
I'll tell you offline.
Okay, hit me
Follow
up.
me on the gram. I am _Steve V. We're live Wednesday night for Tags Live. And in the meantime, continue having hot gay sex.
I love it.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.